Amber Heard, reverse rapist. I just Googled the term to see if I invented it. There's like two listings on Google. What I mean, of course, is a woman who accuses somebody of like rape or beating them up in order to profit, and wrongfully accuses, who lies about it. That's a reverse rapist. And you know, one of the few advantages to being an obscure underground artist is you can say whatever the hell you want. You don't have to worry about a reputation. And I can say reverse rapist and not even worry. Like, if YouTube was to shut me down, it would be like, oh, well, who cares? It's not like I had 1 billion followers. It's not like I had a lot invested. So I get to enjoy that privilege, that luxury. So a friend wrote to me today, and she... See, when it's a female, it's like, oh, well, too bad. She can say whatever the hell she wants about this without being called a misogynist, right? Or maybe a reverse misogynist. She goes, how are you? I saw your Amber Heard petition. I did a petition about where I want Amber Heard to do celebrity boxing with Tonya Harding, because she's going to need work now that her career's over. She goes, how's your fight against Amber going? She's a nutcase. And then I wrote back, I said, she's hilarious. Did you hear the audio of her? And she wrote, I gotta check it out. I find it funny. He left his wife and family to be with the hot young actress who turned out to be a lunatic and beat him up. I don't feel sorry for anyone in this situation. And she's right. Like, if you're only interested in looks, then don't be surprised or let down if that's all you get. He decided to marry a 13-year-old, like a retard. And what do you expect? Do you expect to have a mature relationship? No, she's going to be running around throwing pots and pans, just like a child would. Anyways, I emailed my friend back. I said, and Amber Heard is something like an ambassador for women's rights. She was twirling the baton for the Metoo movement. It's the best thing ever. And then she wrote back, it was a disaster for the movement. Nice girlfriend, Johnny. Hope it was worth it. And I wrote back to her, this is exactly what I was warning about a year ago. The Me Too movement would attract vultures. The shame on you culture. Especially interesting is the men who jumped on board. What is their hidden agenda behind their pretend altruistic agenda? I think they are obese or ugly guys who are happy as hell to see the good-looking guys, like Johnny Depp or Henry Cavill, no longer getting the girls. I can't write a book anymore without worrying about whether it is misogynistic. Alfred Hitchcock wouldn't have been able to make his movies because he always had blonde women in his movies. And Amber played the gender card at the expense of women in danger who actually needed it. Oh, Steven Spielberg will be next. His daughter started doing porn. I'll do a different video on that. Jesus Christ. I'm not really looking forward to that, but whatever. Alright, I'll just summarize really quickly the Steven Spielberg thing. Okay, so I think I don't trust anybody who's squeaky clean, like Steven Spielberg or Oprah Winfrey or Bill Cosby. I think Steven Spielberg might be the next Bill Cosby. I think stuff might come out. Why is his daughter doing porn? That is not the result of a good family, in my opinion. He must have repressed her. And then a friend of mine was mentioning, like, why is it that Steven Spielberg, like, he's always making movies with kids? Like, isn't that weird? And it's true. Like, it's hard enough. Like, when I had to put kids in my movie, that was awkward. And he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, it's awkward as hell when you have to, like, put kids in a movie. But Steven Spielberg loves it. E.T., and I think he worked with Michael Jackson, too. And he adopted kids, which is admirable, but then you also wonder, why couldn't you have... What's wrong with your seed? Like, why couldn't you have kids of your own? Maybe he's not attracted to women, like his wife? I don't know, but why can't you... Isn't it a little weird to be adopting kids rather than wanting to have your own? Time will tell, but back to the Amber Heard, the wonderful Amber Heard story. To repeat, I'm going to repeat, I don't really care what I've said in previous videos. I think she enjoys being hated by the world. I think that, like, she's so messed in the head. The kind of person who wants to get hit and hit their husband is the kind of person who likes to get hurt. Like, essentially a masochist, right? I think a sadist is really just a masochist. At the end of the day, you're hurting yourself. So she probably has some twisted joy in having the whole world hate her. Right? Like, for someone like her, negative attention is just as good as positive attention. I go on IMDb daily to see if there's any Amber Heard news. It's my favorite thing right now. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of the things that have happened in the last week. Okay, so there's text messages from Johnny Depp to Paul Bettany, who played Vision in Avengers, where he says he wants to drown and burn Amber Heard. First of all, saying something's different than doing something. Secondly, I mean, like, when you're in grade school and you say to some kid, "You're dead. You're dead after school. You know, I'm gonna kick your ass. You're dead." That's not an actual death threat. It's an exaggeration. It's, you know, I mean, you can't say that's a death threat, or you could, but either way, it's not the same as actually killing somebody. I mean, personally, I've got a temper, and when I've been at my worst in relationships, I've texted them things like, "You should die. I hope you die." I've never actually said I want to kill you, because that's dangerous. But I've said, like, "You should die," or "I hope you die." And, you know, it's terrible. But it's not physical abuse. And I remember this guy who used to beat up his girlfriend. And I saw him, he wrote on Facebook, because he was in denial that he beat his... Of course, you got to deny it. But he wrote a very interesting thing once. He said, emotional abuse is much worse than physical abuse. And I'm thinking, well, as a wife beater, I guess you have to think that, right? Because nobody would argue that who doesn't hit women, or who isn't violent. Nobody would say emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse. Because physical abuse is emotional abuse as well as physical. It's the most ridiculous argument. It's just an entirely stupid thing to say, and it's complicated. It's like Dante's ninth circle of hell is for betrayal. So, cheating on your wife is worse than killing a stranger. It's a sin of the soul as opposed to sin of the body. But killing your wife would be worse than killing a stranger. I mean, so cheating and killing are two different things, and you can't just say cheating is worse than killing or killing is worse than cheating, period. The main thing, though, is that definitively some things are worse than others. Like, beating somebody up is better than sending an angry text message. Did I say better? I meant worse. As far as I'm concerned, physical is on a whole other level than emotional. Like, you could send someone a message or say something extraordinarily evil. But if you're not laying a finger on them, I mean, there's been nothing done. I mean, physical is real. And I mean, I'm not counting harassment in the emotional category. I'm almost counting that as physical. When someone can't get away from you because you don't stop, like, calling them or something, that's almost like physical. That's you're imposing. But in terms of, like, I don't know, freedom of speech, you should be able to say anything you want. Otherwise, well, I don't know, you are allowed to, because it's not illegal to tell somebody that you hope they die. Now, I'm not above all this sort of drama, necessarily. I just don't have the energy anymore. I'm 42 years old. I would have a heart attack if I was running around with some 13-year-old like Amber Heard, having to babysit her all the time and try to give her quiet time and, you know, stand in the corner now, you silly idiot. An anecdote demonstrating the exhaustion of all this drama. I had a roommate, and she was a friend of mine, and she had her boyfriend over. And they would literally, I could hear them in the next room, screaming at each other for like an hour straight. Just an hour of just screaming with hatred. And then they would lie in bed for the rest of the day. And I remember I smoked a little weed, so I was in a jovial mood. So I came out, I just started laughing at them, and I said, you know, just hearing you guys yell at each other for an hour exhausts me. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm exhausted hearing all this. And I go, but imagine how much harder it is for you guys. Like, you guys must be, like, just totally spent after all of this arguing. Like, the whole day's gone all that energy, like you could have been putting that into like art or whatever. He wanted to be a Muay Thai fighter. Well, you could have put that energy into Muay Thai, but now you got no energy left. The day's done. You're just going to lie in bed for the rest of the day. And that's exactly what it would have been like with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. They would have been fighting all the time, and they have no energy left. You know? How the hell is he supposed to go and be an actor when he's spent? He just wants to go to sleep. I mean, essentially, she's saying to him, you know, you can't run away. You can't leave when I start getting violent. You should get violent too. Essentially. So, I'm only fighting with you because you don't fight. Right? That's the logic. I wouldn't be surprised if she actually said to him, if you really loved me, you would hit me. You'd show me that you care by physically showing me that you're willing to engage like this. Because otherwise, I don't think you love me. Right? You obviously don't care if you're not screaming and throwing shit at me and punching me. And again, this is why I think she actually likes the fact that everybody hates her in the whole world. It makes her feel like they care about her. You know what is very funny is that so Johnny Depp releases that she pooped in the bed. So she retaliates by saying that he peed all over the place. This is like the best reality TV show ever, and the best part is that it's free and they're paying for it. Like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are paying like every penny to entertain us with this hilarious, the two monkeys chasing each other around, throwing money at each other and shit. And they're talking about each other's poop and pee. You know, honestly, screw Pirates of the Caribbean, screw Aquaman 2. Just have Amber Heard and Johnny Depp on a reality show. Oh God, start a petition for that. Like, that would be the best, the most entertaining thing in the world. And I have to say, I like Johnny Depp. I don't think he's a very intelligent person, but I think he has some integrity. But ditching his wife, Vanessa Paradis, for a younger woman, that's betrayal. That's lousy. That's awful. Hey guys, remember when "till death do us part" meant something? It's called being a man of your word. Like, you should do what you say. If you say for better or for worse, through older and younger, that doesn't mean, like, you know, until I change my mind, you stupid jerk. Like, why would you go through that whole ceremony of pledging your soul to another person? You know, and not mean it, or know that you might take it back if things get thick, through thickness and in sickness and in thickness and in thin. I had a girlfriend once who wanted me to marry her, and she got upset that I was like, "Why aren't you marrying me? Why won't you marry me?" And I said, "Because when I get married, it's for good. There is no going back. So I don't want to do it unless it's for good." And I'm proud of myself for that. I mean, to go through a ceremony like that, like a wedding, bring your whole friends, all your friends and your family, make this pledge, this solemn pledge, and for it not to be real, that makes the whole ceremony a mockery. It's a fake wedding. It's a joke. It's like, let's pretend. Let's play husband and wife. You know, they say that somebody who's already been divorced is like 1/10 as likely, like 10 times more likely to get divorced again if they remarry, right? So, with that logic, I would say that I know more about marriage, having never been married, than people who have been married and divorced. But betrayal is neither here nor there when it comes to the public sphere. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what went on behind closed doors. But Amber Heard trying to say that he physically abused her, she's making an actual bid to have him incarcerated. That's like, if she had her way, he would be in jail. She tried, right? If he did what she's accusing him of, he would have a criminal record. He would be in jail. His life could be ruined. And she's trying to do that. That's what's really scary and needs to be taken seriously by him, at least. You know, one thing I realized was that it should be taken seriously when people make a bid for power. even if, like when it fails, because when it fails, they can just say, "Oh well, I didn't mean it," but you still made the bid for power. And one of the examples would be Tom Cruise when he went and said that Brooke Shields shouldn't be on medication for depression, postpartum depression. It's all in the mind. And he tried to lecture the world about it. And it failed colossally. But we have to bear in mind that had it worked, Tom Cruise would say, you're not allowed to take drugs for your depression. He tried. He made a bid for that. I mean, he was too stupid to succeed, but he tried. He tried, and he would have had it so that countless people would be committing suicide from depression because they're not allowed to take drugs. Medications, antidepressants. I'm veering off topic, but yesterday I found out that an old friend of mine died a week ago. I'm assuming it was suicide. He had schizophrenia. He always said all he wanted to do was survive to the year 2000. Well, he lived to 2020. Why? Because he had the right drugs to counter his schizophrenia. If Tom Cruise had his way, Kevin would not have had any medication and he would be dead right now. And Tom Cruise tried. He tried for that. So I'll end it on that grim note, and I'm going to keep watching the Amber Heard news. It's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, hypocrites being exposed. If you like gays, click like. If you like blacks, comment. If you like women, click notification bell. If you like gay women, subscribe. And if you like gay black women, Patreon, Human Warnings, give me money. Oh, Amber, you beautiful dove. Swim back to me. A final thought on misogyny and racism, since it's so prominent to hate it. These words should not be hated so much as they should be overcome. You can't be a man without having a degree of misogyny. You can't be of a race without having a degree of racism. It doesn't mean it's good. It is bad, but it's okay. I mean, like, you just have to come to terms with it. And you can say, yes, I have misogynistic tendencies. Yes, I have racist tendencies. I'm working on them. That's what you're supposed to be saying. You know, they've done studies where, they'll show a little kid a picture of a frowning teddy bear and say, is that a boy or a girl? And they'll say it's a boy. And then a happy teddy bear, is that a boy or a girl? They'll say it's a girl. So the kids are already going into misogynistic and, misandristic tendencies. They're already being bred and nurtured into this shit. And so, again, it needs to be overcome, and it's okay to admit that it exists. Another study, they put a bunch of babies in baby blue outfits and a bunch of babies in pink, pajamas. And they gave adults, they said, here, play with this kid. Now, when the kids in the baby blue were crying, the adults would say, don't be such a wimp, come on. And when in the pink, they would say, when they were crying, the adults would say, oh, you poor thing. And this was regardless of gender. It was just the color. So you see how we accidentally reinforce these stereotypes. And Malcolm Gladwell, who is a black man, he did a really good, I don't know, it wasn't really good, it was alright. I forget what it was called. Outliers? Something like that. But he did a similar thing where he's talked about a focus group where, kids were shown pictures of black people and white people, and they always associated the black people with bad, and the white people with good, or something like that. I mean, I don't remember exactly what it was. But I'm just saying, we subconsciously, even black people subconsciously reinforce these stereotypes. So essentially, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to say, yes, I'm a human being and I have flaws. I am extremely flawed. I have a lot of bad qualities. What you're not supposed to do is say, I'm perfect and this guy is flawed and evil and horrible over there, that one. And let's hate him.